Hey guys, welcome back to Micho Makes. My name is Micho. I like to make stuff. Today I've got part 7 of the Toyota Sprinter Trueno AE86 by DeAgostini with you today. And actually it's a pretty big kit this time. So let's take a look at the back. This is still sealed. Let's get this zoomed in and focus for you. And the reveal is the transmission. This is a huge piece that should be going on. Also, we've got a mount. Actually, the alternator with alternator parts too as well, alternator pulley, and also the air conditioning pump. So this is actually a pretty big kit when it comes down to accessories and actually the transmission itself. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, with the kit unpacked, take the top off. Got the cardboard frames as usual. Sometimes I think that might have been easier to just use a box, but I guess this might have been actually cheaper since they all I need to just cut into one size and just stack them up. Got the kit here in a bag. More info. And the instructions. As usual, same stuff, giving more information about the kits itself. It looks like we're looking at the interior. Yeah, interior. Now, one cool fact is that there was an option. You can see that right there in the brochure. You had an option, and this is actually in the kit itself too, is the digital gauge cluster. A lot of 86s came stock with the analog one with, the needle that moves up and down. This is an option that I believe was very rare. And very 80s too as well. So people do find these in the United States. You do have to do a conversion with a wiring harness and to be able to read it. It is not cheap, but it is a massive flex if you have a digital gauge cluster in your 86. It looks really cool. And also, hey, look at that. A stock equalizer in your deck. That'd be a huge flex too as well with a cassette tape. The red interior. Ooh. Make sure this is all in focus so you guys can see this. You also had the headrest adjustments, the head up, head down, and actually these kind of wing back. Let me go ahead and focus on this. To kind of hold you in. These are stock seats. They were not racing seats per se, but they definitely try to hug you like racing seats. There was a lumbar support too as well. You could raise the seat up and down, obviously forward and backwards too as well. The lumbar support was actually air. So you pump this little hand pump thing, like when you go to a doctor and they have do your blood pressure. One of those things. The rear is quite comfortable because these cutouts here, you kind of hold your arm in, and you can sit 4 folks pretty comfortably, especially in the hatch. The details of the windshield wiper knobs and also the headlights too as well. These are actually not cylinders, but like spheres that rotate, so you can really get customized in how you want to direct the airflow, but also turn them sideways so that actually it blocks it too as well. Detailing, as I mentioned, the digital gauge cluster versus the analog one. Obviously, they use the analog one in Initial D, if you remember correctly. And then when Takumi had to replace his because his engine couldn't rev high enough when you get the blacktop engine, this was the limiting factor, they said. Believe what you want. But yes, there was a point where he couldn't tell where it was going to hit 11,000, where these only go to 8,000 RPMs. The styling with the stock wheel, very iconic. And now they're featuring the LFA. Now, if you don't know what the LFA is, this is Toyota's, or yes, it's Toyota. It is Lexus branding, but is their hypercar. Super cool. If you watch Top Gear, they did a whole segment on this. This is a phenomenal car, made very famous when I think I can't recall correctly, but Clarkson made this. This is like one of his favorite cars, and I think that since this has never been made again, this is extremely rare, and they just kind of went up in price. This is in the year 2000. Was this built in 2000? I can't remember, but these are extremely rare. Again, advertising their upgrades. And to subscribe, more LFA detailing. Beautiful car. Oh, it looks like they actually made it. See, again, such my knowledge of the LFA, but it looks like they made it from 2010 to 2012, so 2 years. Wow. V10, dual overhead cam. Wow. 6-speed manual transmission. I think it's $370,000 around, this yen. But now I think they go upwards $500,000 easily. And they jump right into the instructions. So we'll just take a look at the quick details of what we can expect today. Transmission, a mount to as well, alternator brackets, alternator pulleys, as well as the air conditioning too as well. Sorry, I was pointing at that. This is the alternator. That's the air conditioning. My apologies. It looks like it's 2 parts. We're putting the bracket in too, and then it attaches directly to the engine block down there. That's cool. Now we know why it's put into 2 separate pieces. We need to put this connector portion and then be able to connect it to the engine itself. Awesome. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get everything unboxed. All right, got everything unboxed here. Let's take a look at the transmission first. As it was with the block itself, same thing. Half a transmission. Still metal. Again, cast aluminum. I think it's pewter more than anything else. It's usually pretty cheaper to cast, but still it gets pretty good details too as well. Half a transmission. This is a T50 transmission. If you guys didn't know, put that to the side. Here's the connection bracket that they instruct us to use, that we could be connecting the block to the transmission with. Got the tweezers here. Air conditioning pump. Now this is plastic. Yeah, 100% plastic. Got half of the alternator housing. The other half to the alternator housing. It's like a fan pulley, maybe for the air compress, or sorry, air conditioning pump. Looks like a bracket for the alternator, or actually maybe air conditioning. I can't tell. Another bracket. Ooh, now this one is metal. This one actually might go to the alternator. Another pulley. Or spacer, it looks like, more than anything else. Looks like a spacer. Another spacer or pulley. Another spacer or pulley. And this actually does look like half of the pulley for a belt. And we're probably going to get those belts later on. Another pulley. The other half, I believe, this looks like the other half for the air conditioning, probably. And finally, another pulley here in the parts. Oh, I almost missed one, actually. Wow, that's super small. What the heck is this? This actually might go in the air conditioning pump. Super small. Almost lost that one. Now for screws, we have the AM, AP, and SM. So, I believe the first part we're going to be using is the transmission and the bracket to the transmission too as well. So we'll go ahead and get everything to the side and then have those pieces and take a look at the instructions too as well. Okay, easy enough. We're going to grab the transmission as directed by the book, and we're going to be mounting the bracket in the transmission, and it looks like it gets mounted this direction right here, just like that. Oh wow, it's actually already keyed away. There's a keyway kind of right there, and it fit right in those holes. It also is notched out right down here too as well. We're going to be using SM, got right here. All right, that's nice and secure. Now we're going to take our engine that we used. Remember, it is a half of an engine. Move these screws out the way. And we're going to mount it just like this. It's going to be down. Make sure this is in focus for you guys. Down like this. Oh, actually, I'm incorrect. I'm looking at the picture and they have it oriented differently, but yeah, it's actually not like this. It's like this. And there are not, what they wanted to call out is that there's little notches here in that. So you can just mount it right in there. And I'll hold that. And we're going to be using the AM screws. try to hold that together like that. Start threading it just a little bit. Kind of difficult to manhandle, even with two hands, all these pieces. Go slowly. I'm not going to tighten it down fully until I get this other one in. I would definitely suggest, if you're doing this the same, not to crank them down too much yet. These are metal, so there's a little bit more wiggle room. But you don't want to cross thread anything. Okay, I think that part is done actually for the engine and transmission. Now, if you look at the profile, let's just take a peek at the profile. That looks really cool with the engine mounted right there. The transmission mounted, I mean, you can see this cross section here. How they mounted it here. That's going to be really cool. Now, consider this. This is just the engine and transmission. Now, obviously, the end of the car is not where the transmission is. There's a drive shaft that's going to come off to go to the rear wheels. And that really just kind of, again, puts in perspective the sheer size of this model. The engine and transmission, the engine details and transmission are larger than this toy car. Now, this isn't a small car either. This is not a Hot Wheels. So, this is going to be a massive car. Cool. So, with this part done, I'm going to put it to the side and start working on what it looks like, the alternator. Let's take a peek. Putting the alternator together with the pulleys. And it's actually a pretty quick build. So this is the housing for the alternator. And I believe trying to identify these small pulleys because there's a lot. Okay, I found them. They are actually quite small in comparison. These are the two pulleys. Let's see if I can focus in those for you. These are the two pulleys for the alternator, and then these are the two pulleys for the air conditioning. So I'll put these ones to the side. Looks like we're taking this one. Okay. We're taking this one right here. 7D. I'm going to zoom in and see if you can see a little better. Mounting it like this. This little ridge on top. Just like that. And then to complete the pulley, we're going to flip this one over because the belt needs to go somewhere, right? Flip this one over and have it like that. If you look at the profile, it indeed looks like a pulley on an alternator. Then we take a P screw grab that real quick. Take an AP screw. And we screw it on. Oops. Okay, now we take these two pieces actually. There are two pieces for the alternator. I thought one was for the air conditioning pump, AC pump, but actually these are both parts for the alternator. I kind of suspected that, but you know, I just couldn't make the right call. So it looks like it's got to be in this orientation, and then this orientation, and they just kind of go on together like that. Yeah. So this part, so the keyway, and this is what's really, again, I keep saying this, but it's really nice about this model. There's a lot of thought and consideration on how to assemble these. There's a keyway right here on the bottom for the other housing. Put that, and it puts it right there, right? So that's set. Then for this portion, it's got to go over to the edge right here. See, and then you look right here on the shaft right here. See how there's kind of a notch? There's actually a notch right there to guide you exactly where you need to place this. So this one goes right here, and it just kind of falls into place right there. Just to make sure you are getting it exactly where it needs to be. And we use another AP screw. To lock down the alternator. Now I don't want to go crazy, obviously. Looks good. I like it. Excellent. Okay, I see. On the back of the alternator, and these are the details, man, you just don't even think about. Let me go ahead and get this focused right there. Remember that little piece I almost forgot? This one right over here? This actually goes on the back of the alternator, right in this little slot right there. And this is the connection point, oops, where you would run a power line wire to the battery. There is a little notch here. It's a kind of a tension relief on there. And you got to push it in pretty good so it'll lock in. There you go. The alternator, I believe, is complete. Okay, so we're not actually done with the engine. We'll zoom out. It looks like we're actually mounting this bracket right here, to the engine. So we've got right here, we've got, I believe, this orientation. Yes. Again, what they did, put into consideration again, this keyway here, and then there's a keyway right here on these. So put it right here, like that. Oops, it fell off. And then we use some SM bolts that we had previously used to mount this metal bracket to the block. Not going to screw it down all the way yet. Grab another SM bolt. And as usual, DeAgostini always gives you an extra bolt, regardless. Very nice because these things can go flying. Luckily, I've never had to use that extra bolt on any of the parts just yet. Let's keep that trend up. I hope that never happens, but if needs to be used, I'm glad it's there. The bracket is tightened down. Take a peek at it. Looks good. Now, we're actually going to take the alternator that we just made, and we're going to mount it. So we're going to use some AP screws. And let's figure out this orientation. So it looks like it's got to go this orientation right here. Because I can reference off of the picture here. Now, this is a plastic part attaching to a metal part. It looks like it gets oriented right there. Yes, that is correct. So grab an AP screw. What's actually really cool, again, another detail, is that they have a little stud here, right, on the alternator. And normally, if you need to adjust the alternator, you need to loosen up a nut, right, and then be able to move it around so that you can loosen and tighten the belts while on the vehicle. So having that little detail there, we actually do have one static stud where the alternator can pivot off of. Again, the detail, man, it's so crazy. I love it. One nut, and our step is complete for this portion. All right, next part is the air conditioning pump. So we've got the pump housing here, and then we've got the shaft, input shaft here. There is a small keyway that we need to insert into the pump itself, and then kind of let that lock in. All right, and then we take this silver portion right here, another disc, and we drop it in right there. And let me just focus on that so you guys can see that. Just like that. And then we're going to be using another AP screw to lock that in. Not going to wrench on this too much. Looks good. Okay, the two bigger pulleys now. We take this one and this one with the ridges. We slap them together like this. So like that, they look like that. Then we put this right on top of this one right here. Okay, after getting the screw on the air conditioning pump, we've got to make the pulleys here. So we take these two parts and we put them together just like this. There is a hole right there that will go directly on the pump itself. So we just place that on top. And then we take another AP screw. Get that all set up. The pulley on the pump itself. All right, and the final part is we're taking the bracket for the air conditioning pump and we're going to be placing it on top of this. So what you're using as a kind of a guideline is the orientation. I'm trying to orient it right now as they have it in the guidebook itself. So it looks like it's in this direction right here. And then we mount this hole with this hole too. Put that on top of each other. Just like that. This gets pressed through, it looks like. Good. And we take one last AP screw. Screw this on. There you go. We got a complete AC compressor pump with the bracket installed and the pulley installed. And that's the kit for today, guys. Let's take a quick overview of what we actually did today. We actually did half of the transmission, getting the bracket mounted with the T50 transmission installed. We've got a bracket here for the alternator installed, as well as getting the alternator pulley and alternator itself mounted front and back with the electrical connection on the back. And then the other part was the air conditioning pump. So obviously this thing has not been mounted yet. There is going to be mounting of it on a later part, probably when the other half of the block gets installed too as well. But overall, this engine is coming together real fast. So I'm really liking the fact that this is coming together so well. It looks so detailed, especially with the transmission and the alternator installed, as well as the AC pump. You can really tell all the work and detail that went into this model kit. I'm really, again, happy with this. I'm really looking forward to it. But what's actually really funny too is how they kind of leave you with half of a project done. You know, you've got to buy the other kits in order to try to get this thing near completion. So you really can't just say, oh, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna, I mean, you could buy just certain issues to build certain things, but you know, you're only getting half of transmission. You're only getting half a block here. There's a lot of stuff that you need to build too as well. So I really like the fact that there is kind of this piecemeal, you know, take your time. Every issue, every week is a new item to build. And I think that's really cool, but I also can kind of see how they're trying to drag you along a little bit and get you to subscribe and also stay subscribed. And which actually, again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, the reason why I got all these kits and where I kind of stood was I believe that a guy bought like 40 issues of this and I think got tired and was just like, I'm not doing any of it. I'm just collecting dust in my place. I don't want them anymore. And I was able to get a really good deal. for the first at least 40. Now I'm paying retail, but what's actually really good too, and if you're into buying these kits or buying, other items from Japan, the yen is really weak right now. So your dollar, American dollar, if you're in America, goes a lot longer than what you would normally get. So if you're looking to buy stuff from Japan, now's the time to do it. Anyway, thanks again for watching today. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And I'm looking forward to the next part, which is going to be part number 8. And let's actually just take a quick peek at what part 8 is going to be. So we're not going to waste too much time with only half a transmission because the other half of the transmission is in there. Looks like the oil pan, and gosh, I can't even really see the bracket. I'm not too sure what that is. Some other probably engine mounts and parts too as well. So look forward to that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.